Yeah, I don't think I want to be there during the summer, that's for sure. So, all right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. If you're able to, on another screen, I did put the Nearpod link in the chat. We're going to have a little bit of discussion today as we go throughout what we call juvenile justice is what we're going to go over. So just so you're aware, this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes. My expectation, make sure you're following along with the Nearpod lesson, use the chat tools respectfully and appropriately, and also respond to questions and instructions the first time. Okay, before we get into that, I just want to go over the course real quick. Remember, all my lessons I post here to the course announcements. Okay. If we go into the months, this is where we're at. We have live class every Thursday, and then the assignments due the next week. So it gives a week to watch the recording and kind of do that. Oh, if you saw in there, no school Monday. Yay, right? And end of the block is like the 16th. So you do have some time to make some things up after there. Some people did have some issues on the last one about creating the doc. You can click this. Sometimes it won't copy over, but you can just create a Google Doc and just copy this and put it into the Google Doc, right? And then go and answer your questions, true or false or whatever, okay? So that's a one way you can do it. Or I've been emailing people back like an actual Word document that you can work from as well to do it. But just however you can, just get it in, okay? This week, we'll do the judicial system. We're going to really focus in on juvenile justice. Affects you guys the most, I guess, because you guys are mostly still juveniles. We have another thing like that. So you want to like put this into like a Word document, and you're going to be watching this video right here. So you'd click here and it'll take you to here. This video is 28 minutes long, but it gives a really good in-depth thing of what's called the stick-up kid. I think it'll be good to kind of let you know how the juvenile justice system works, okay? So that will be our assignment for today. But let's go over the juvenile justice system. I don't know if anybody's been toilet papering before, but I used to do that when I was younger, and I don't know if you guys can even do that anymore. I might get in trouble. But the juvenile justice system is designed to deal with problems of delinquent acts committed by persons under the age of 18. You know, we got into a little bit of trouble when we were younger, but delinquent acts, there's two types of delinquent acts, okay? Criminal and status, and I'll go over each of those. Oh, so one of your neighbors got toilet paper not too long ago? All right. Okay, so criminal acts is an act, if it is committed by an adult, would be a criminal offense, okay? So crimes from murder to vandalism would be criminal acts, right? The other acts that we're talking about is like what we call status. And so these are ones that like you shouldn't be doing, right? When you're underage, but it's the acts which is prohibited for minors but are not for those of over a certain age. So for examples are like curfew. I don't know if you guys knew, but there is a curfew for people under 18. There's also alcohol, of course, right? Tobacco, running away, ungovernable, and truancy. So actually skipping school and being truant is actually would be considered a status, okay? I don't know why they have some of these pictures in there, but anyways. Okay, so you have something called like the age of accountability. So as for Roman Judicial Code, right, it has been held that children below a certain age are not able to distinguish between right and wrong. The Romans held that when a child reaches the age of 8 or 9, they'd be held responsible as an adult would be, okay? So that's kind of gone through like the different times. But different countries, they'll have, what do they do for juveniles? In England, juveniles could be executed for stealing food, right? Over 170 offenses were punishable by death. Other punishments include whipping, branding, and mutilation. Okay. Yeah, mutilation is basically like distorting someone's body somehow, right? Yeah, not good. So the juvenile system over time, it's been more of a corrective justice to try to like figure out how to just make people like not do these things, right? The acts of juveniles are viewed as delinquent rather than like basically a criminal defense. And the punishment was replaced by like rehabilitation, like tactics. Separate courts for juveniles were created, and the first court was created in Cook County, Illinois in 1899 for juveniles rather than adults. In 1910, 20 states had separate set of juvenile court laws rather than and in 1945, all states had a juvenile system, and they distinguish, like especially with we know at least in men, right, that their brain doesn't fully develop until about 26 or so. And so making rational decisions and stuff like that, or is it 25? You guys may know better than I do. That, making rational decisions always isn't the what's on the top of their mind, right? So there is if a parent is not doing their job, I guess, or someone is not a parent or doesn't have good parental support, the state may provide what called like a parents of the state. So you're basically adopted into there where you'll have a person that will be acting as your parents to kind of help there. One thing you got to be know as well is that your parents can be tried for some misconducts that you've done, right? You may notice like in certain things that crimes that have happened that are very bad that were done by juveniles, they're now starting to prosecute the parents for not being more involved in their parent or than their child's lives. Okay. All right, so we're going to watch a little video about kind of what happens in a juvenile system if something were to happen. So then we'll have a little discussion on it.
On any given day, approximately 50,000 young people in the U.S. are held in juvenile prisons. Johnny McDaniels, a judge in Hinds County, Mississippi, believes America's mass incarceration problem actually begins during teenage years. McDaniels spent 3 years as executive director of the Henley Young Juvenile Justice Center and offers this brief but spectacular take.
Being a prosecutor is about making sure that justice prevails. I'm an absolute advocate, and I advocated from the courtroom that if a person was not guilty of something, the system is designed that that person should be let go. The criminal justice system was always interesting to me. I'm the youngest of 10 children. One of my older brothers had the misfortune of having got caught up in the criminal justice system and actually went to prison. I would go and visit him with my mom at the state.
Yeah, are you guys able to hear it, or did I not share the sound? Yeah, but it's glitchy. Okay, sorry. You can watch it on your Nearpod as well if you want. Okay, good.
The state penitentiary in Parchman, and he would always give the most wonderful story when we were there with my mom. I'm doing fine, and I'm gonna be okay, and they treat me nicely and that type of thing. When she was gone, you would hear the other side of it. You would hear the difficulties associated with being incarcerated in the state of Mississippi, the difficulties associated with not having proper legal representation. So I was always saying, you know, at one point, you know, I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to be a great defense attorney. I'm going to make sure that I can make a difference for people like my brother. As I stood in the courtroom, prosecuted young people between the ages of 18 and 21, one of the first dynamics that I absolutely encountered was all of them had some type of involvement with the juvenile justice system. So seeing that, I naturally began to ask questions about what's going on with juvenile justice issues in Jackson, Mississippi, and found some pretty astonishing things in terms of the number of young people who were not being adjudicated, the number of young people who were not receiving the type of services that were necessary, the system not having the proper mechanisms in place to deal with the revolving door of juvenile justice is absolutely problematic. Many of those juveniles have been the subject of some type of abuse, some type of neglect, some type of trauma. That's why it's so important to have the right type of mental health professionals in place when you're dealing with juveniles who are engaged in the criminal justice system. If you allow it to just kind of not receive the proper attention that it deserves, you're going to have a young person who's going to matriculate from age 13, engaging in behavior all the way until they do something so unfortunate and sensational that they're on the 5 o'clock evening news. And at that point, there's no more saving. I absolutely believe that we can divert and rehabilitate young people so that we won't have so many people in the criminal justice system. If you don't get it right at the juvenile level in the context of criminal justice, you're never going to get it right at the adult level. I'm not talking about, you know, making communities unsafe. There's a way to do this in such a way that we can have smart justice, safe communities, but make sure that our jails and prisons are not full of people who shouldn't be there. My name is Johnny McDaniels, and this is my brief but spectacular take on the revolving door of juvenile justice.
All right, guys. So he has a pretty compelling argument. The revolving door is what he talks about, right? Going in and out. So in the video, Mr. McDaniels talked about the revolving door. What is that? And share your guys' insights on the near pod there. What are your guys' thoughts? I was amazed to see how young some of those kids were. And you think at that age, you know, you'd be able to somewhat learn to rehabilitate them. But what's your thoughts? Okay, so the justice system that just takes bad kids and throws them back out to take more in without really rehabilitating them. Yeah, definitely. I mean, he talked about, you know, you're going to see these kids as he was representing 18 to 21, all of them had already been in the system before, right? So how can we figure that out, right? What resource can we give them there? It is really hard to explain, but it would be so awful to be so young. Yeah. Can you imagine being so young? And he said a lot of them have so much trauma already that they've been abused before or they've done like that. And so they're acting out in some way. And it's just, you know, what kind of help can we get them so they don't grow up to be an offender when they get older, right? And do something that's really going to get them on there. Okay. It's hard to explain. Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to explain, but what it is, like they come in and then they go out, right? And then just go right back into the system again. And it's one of the big problems. We spend so much money, especially in the United States, on the prison system, right? There are too many kids that need to be rehabilitated, but not enough space. Yeah, I'd agree. Not enough, like, I'd say mental health and behavior support and people just there to support, right? This justice system that just takes bad kids are then back out and takes more in without really, yeah. I think that's what we had back up there too. So yeah, it's very interesting. That's what you're going to learn a little bit when you're going to watch this video, right? For your assignment. Okay. You're going to watch that video once again, and you're going to just answer those questions. You put that in a document. You know, how old was Alonzo when he committed his crime? But it just keeps, they keep going, and we got to figure out a way to kind of stop that. Okay. All right. So judges in a juvenile court act as their parents for the juveniles, and make sure their constitutional rights are able to be followed. Juvenile proceedings were seen as a civil matter. And due to the increase of concerns in due process in the adult court system, the Supreme Court in 1966 acted to change the juvenile court system in Kent versus there to make sure they get their rights that they deserve. Juveniles now have all rights afforded to as adults, with the notable exception of one. Any guesses? I guess so. You're not going to have a trial by jury. Okay. So you're not going to have, in a juvenile system, if you've ever seen like a criminal court proceedings, you know, you have 12 impartial judges, right, that will judge you and that kind of stuff. Okay. But that's not going to be in the juvenile court because of that. Expungement. Okay. So some things that you do when you're, as I said, you're growing, you're learning and that kind of stuff. And so there's like an expungement of your records. Your records can be sealed. So like, because the problem is if you have a criminal record, getting a job and stuff like that is really kind of hard. And so you can look to get it expunged, and a lot of judges do that to not further hinder of what they've done in the past, right? Juvenile court's responsibilities include criminal violations, status offenses, child custody issues. Juvenile courts share concurrent jurisdiction with other courts concerning traffic violations. Adults who contribute to the abuse, neglect, or delinquency of minors. Okay. Serious youth offenses, though. Okay. In 1995, they can automatically transfer juvenile offenders to be tried as an adult if the offenses are big enough. And so the juvenile offender must be at least 16 years of age and meet the following criteria. Okay, as you can see, this is an 11-year-old boy convicted of shooting a stranger with a stolen gun. He was sentenced to 10 years behind bars. Yeah. My only has a criminal record because of pregnancy. Okay. So the court allowed him to be tried as an adult. So serious offenses are like those big ones that we kind of talked about at the beginning, like, you know, aggravated arson, aggravated assault, kidnapping, burglary, sexual assault, robbery, just a firearm from a vehicle, attempted murder. All of those felonies ones can get to the point where they serve, a juvenile could serve as an adult. So after they have this, which you'll learn in the video too, that the Division of Youth Services, they have juvenile receiving centers and truancy prevention programs. And so like if you were to do something, you're probably going to get put into a juvenile holding center. Then the detention center basically acts as a facility to hold juveniles, because you don't want to put them in with the adult population, right? Just because they're so young. But no status offenders would be there. That'd be if you committed like some type of criminal thing. But then you also have detention centers that they can hold a juvenile for 48-hour period, including weekends and holidays, before they appear in the juvenile justice court. Okay, so you're going to learn more about this as you watch your video, right? So just to recap real quick, you're going to go to the Stick Up Kid video, and it's going to lead you to this link. You put open, and it's going to go right here. It's a 28-minute video. You're going to learn about Alonzo and his story, and you're just going to answer these questions and submit them, and it's going to kind of let you know more about the juvenile system and how things work, and hopefully deter you guys from not doing anything like that either. So, all right. Do you guys have any questions? Nope. Okay. All right. That's this week's assignment. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll stick after for any questions you might have.